Hello and welcome to the Quick News Daily Podcast, where we give you all the latest news in under 20 minutes. No fluff, no filler, just news made for the 21st century. Today is Friday, June 5th, and the police aren't going to stop beating the shit out of people, so we're not going to stop telling you about it. Let's get rolling. I want to start first with a story I hope you've seen. Last night in Buffalo, police shoved a 75-year-old man, causing him to fall backwards and hit his head on the pavement. Here's the uncomfortable truth of what's been happening. The police are the ones rioting now. Protests have been largely peaceful this week, and I can't tell you how much unprovoked violence I've seen from the police. These governors are imposing curfews, like New York, it was 8 p.m., and I must have missed the part of the Constitution where it says you're allowed to beat the shit out of peaceful protesters at 8:01 p.m. Again, we in the Midwest need to make sure we absorb all the news, not just the local news that local stations owned by Trump-supporting Sinclair want you to see, making it seem like we should all be singing Kumbaya together. The real stuff, the real violence that's happening out there. And I know it's hard because many of you have friends, family, neighbors who are cops, and they may be the good ones, but this is just disgusting what I've seen this week. Hundreds of videos on Twitter that aren't getting shared on Facebook, where older, more reliable voters get their news. It's not on Facebook, so I'm trying to bring it to Facebook and show people what's really happening. And I hope you will too, because they need to see this. They need to see the horror of what's going on to these peaceful protesters. Peaceful. Not the maniacs who swarmed state capitals last month waving ARs, screaming in cops' faces without a mask because they couldn't get a haircut or go to Home Depot. People protesting for equality are being beaten to a pulp, and we need to see it. The most surprising part of today so far has been the jobs report for May. Apparently, the unemployment rate has fallen to 13.3%, yay, only 13%, and 2.5 million people got their jobs back in May, which is insane because we were still in lockdown for at least part of the time, sometimes the whole time in some states. Now, I've seen some conspiracy theories floating around online that the Trump administration is making these numbers up or falsifying them in some way, but I'm not going to go that far just yet. I surely wouldn't put it past them to cover up the bad week they've had, but I'm just beside myself because here comes that Trump, Hitler, Brady luck again. Of course it would bounce back fast for Trump. Of course he gets all the breaks. My God, luckiest in history. However, he's still incredibly tone deaf because here's what he had to say at his press conference this morning.
This is a great tribute. What we're announcing today is a tremendous tribute to equality. We're bringing our jobs back. Hopefully George is looking down right now and saying this is a great thing that's happening for our country. This is a great day for him. It's a great day for everybody.
Yeah, just to follow up, how would a better economy have protected George Floyd? Sure, I'll ask after.
I mean, he's just so detached from reality, and he has no empathy. He's incapable of empathy. In fairness, that was a couple clips stitched together, and I just had to throw the one at the end of the reporter saying, quick question, how would a better economy have saved George Floyd? Because he doesn't know, he doesn't care. And oh, by the way, scumbag Bill Barr wants us to believe that there was no correlation between his choice to fire tear gas into peaceful protesters and Trump's walk over to the church for that horrible photo op. Bill Barr should, at the very least, lose his license to practice law when all of this is over. Now, of course, Joe Biden had a more dignified response than I was able to muster, so here he is. And I warn you, it's a long clip, it's about a minute, but I think we need to hear what Joe has to say.
Toward the end of his remarks, President Trump said he hopes that, quote, George Floyd is looking down and seeing this is a great day for our country. He was speaking of a man who was brutally killed by an act of needless violence and by a larger tide of injustice that has metastasized on this president's watch as he's moved to split us based on race and religion and ethnicity. George Floyd's last words, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe," have echoed all across this nation and quite frankly around the world. For the president to try to put any other words in the mouths of George Floyd, I frankly think is despicable. And the fact that he did so on the day when black unemployment rose, Hispanic unemployment rose, black youth unemployment skyrocketed, tells you everything you need to know about this man and what he really cares about.
That certainly didn't sound like a man who was losing it. He formed better sentences than Trump. I'm sad that we have to even say that, but it's just clear to anyone with 2 ears and who doesn't get all of their news from Fox News that Trump is gone and Joe Biden is still very much with it. Not only is he with it, he looks, dare I say, presidential. But in a move that's sure to make Trump unhappy, Twitter blocked a campaign video from him that was about George Floyd. It was a tribute video, and Twitter blocked it based on copyright claims. They also did the same thing last year when the Trump campaign tried to use a Nickelback video in an attack on Joe Biden. And when you've lost Nickelback, that's when you know you're unpopular. All of this is a pretty striking difference from Facebook, who basically just lets Trump have free reign over content, including stuff calling for violence or just blatantly misleading. Over the past week, there have been a lot of Facebook employees resigning in protest to Zuckerberg allowing the "when the looting starts, the shooting starts" post to stay up. So hopefully Zuckerberg's AI develops the ability to reason soon so that he doesn't just let it be open season as we get closer to the election. Yes, that was a Zuckerberg is a robot joke. My last point on this article, and this one is from NBC News, is that I hate how journalists just love to use last month or last year as soon as they can. In this article, they said, last month Twitter fact-checked 2 Trump tweets. And I'm just screaming, guys, it was last week. You don't have to try to sound sophisticated. They're like the dads out there who, as soon as it's 12:01 on January 1st, they're like, wow, I haven't seen you since last year. Give me a break, NBC. Give me a break, journalists. In a follow-up to something I talked about yesterday, it was that police destroying the medical station in North Carolina. It got enough publicity on social media that the police chief publicly apologized for it this morning. Just reading it, I didn't watch the video, but it just kind of seemed like a half-assed apology, basically just saying that he's announcing restructuring in the department to try to change the bad culture. But it's something, and it just proves that what we're doing on social media, what protesters are doing in the streets, really does make a difference. Now, this is a double-edged sword. As seen in our next story here, the Justice Department has said they're using social media to help catch rioters, looters, and anybody else causing property damage. And there have already been a couple of arrests made as a result. Of course, the announcement is misleading because they use Antifa as a code word for their Fox News base to say, it's the liberals doing it. When in reality, they arrested 3 people earlier this week from that right-wing group Boogaloo. You know, Civil War II electric boogaloo with the Hawaiian shirts. There have been rioters and looters acting individually, but the only groups I've heard of, the only groups committing crimes and conspiracies to blame it on liberals, is right-wing groups. But, of course, the Trump administration won't tell you that because it doesn't play as well with their campaign ads. Now, this next story here makes me proud of the journalism I'm doing, if you can call it that. You may have heard earlier this week that the New York Times published an op-ed from Republican Senator Tom Cotton, which basically said, send in the troops on the protesters. After at first being all high and mighty saying, we need to hear both sides since it's a U.S. senator, they're now saying that it doesn't meet their standards. Of course, this feeds the right-wing theory that the Times is super lefty, and the story is already out there and is still out there. But it's more than they did for Hillary. Back in 2015 and 2016, the Times just loved to report how unexciting Hillary was, and her emails and all that bullshit. So after this story ran, a lot of Times employees called in sick in protest, especially black journalists who said it made their situations even more dangerous, reporting on the ground, in the protests, on the actual streets with actual people. So at least the message is finally getting through to the Times, but hey, I know one place you won't ever have that problem, Quick News Daily. But you're listening, so you already knew that, didn't you? We've saved our biggest story for last year, though. Trump has finally gotten his wall, just not where he'd like it. Yes, the White House installed a fence around the perimeter for added security, but even the author of the article was saying that it's not clear why they did this because the protests have been peaceful since Monday. Probably just another campaign ad to show how Trump's a victim or some BS like that. We all know how that goes. Even when they win, they're the victims. I think that's about it for the news today. That was a lot of stories. I think that's probably tied for the most stories we've had in a single day. I just want to read you this one last headline, and it would sound crazy in any other year besides 2020. Just listen to this. Enraged New York driver who chased protesters with blades attached to arm is arrested. Yep, that's how crazy it is out there. That's what's happening. We got Wolverine running around, except it's, racist Wolverine. In any case, thank you so much for tuning in today, for tuning in every single day. I do have a new piece out today on Medium. I've tweeted it. I've put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. It's called Wolves in Sheep's Clothing, the Problem with Police unions, in quotes. And it talks about how police unions are protecting bad cops and what we can all do about it. So if you would, take a look at that, read it, pass it on to your friends, share it if you would, if you like it. And also keep an eye out this weekend for Quick News to Go. It is the new weekly show where I just combine all of the shows from the week into one big show. So if you like to binge your news, Quick News to Go is for you. In any case, stay safe this weekend. Who knows what it'll bring, but hopefully safety to all of us. And we'll be back here on Monday.